In a shocking turn of events, watching people walk for an hour and 50 minutes isn't very interesting. But it isn't bad, I'll explain. This is my spoiler-free review of The Long Walk. Raymond Garrity is one of 50 young men who have volunteered to participate in a competition called The Long Walk. Each participant must walk and not drop below 3 miles per hour. If they fail, they will be eliminated, which means immediate death. Since there's only one winner and no finish line, the young men must decide to walk alone or bond together to become something more than just puppets in this cruel game.
All for one! And one for all!
The Long Walk is the most recent film adaptation from Stephen King. As to be expected, it's a dark, unrelenting, violent tale, with a concept that captivated me right from the beginning. An obvious comparison would be The Hunger Games, but instead of the characters fighting each other to the death, these young men aren't necessarily competing against each other, they're competing against their own physical and mental endurance. This dramatically changes the dynamic of this film and removes any similarities to something like The Hunger Games. From the very beginning, the characters introduce themselves politely, and the mood suggests this is a voluntary role that each person has chosen, and maybe for a positive purpose.
I'm Ray Garrity. You can call me Ray.
Beam Breeze.
Hank Olson's the name. Walking's my game.
Of course, any friendly tone quickly evaporates once the walk begins and the first contestant is eliminated. I will tell you, at this point, The Long Walk had captured me. Opening the film with Ray's mother saying goodbye is very effective in establishing the somberness of what we're about to witness. The rules of the walk are then quickly established, and then they start walking. Even though I was sitting still in my seat, I felt my heart rate elevate. I could feel the dread that must be overwhelming to the contestants. The director achieved this by establishing the mundane nature of essentially walking to your death. Characters watch their shadows bob on the asphalt below. They watch the breeze blowing the leaves in the trees they slowly pass by, and gaze at other unique sights one would see on such a long journey. I felt like I was in their shoes. Unfortunately, at this point, the film must hasten itself in an effort to entertain the audience. So characters begin to get eliminated, and when it happens, it is graphically violent and disturbing, to the point that one character states, "I hope that gets easier," to which another character responds, "That's what I'm afraid of." And this is the back and forth that sustains the film for the rest of the running time. It bounces from explosive, horrific violence to characters interacting, getting to know each other, trying to understand this shared experience. On paper, this dichotomy should work, but the problem is the characters and their interactions aren't very interesting. Each young man is an archetype: the nice guy, the jerk, the wise one, the fool, and so on. We never learn anything about them beyond their surface, which makes them dull and disposable. This leads to another problem. Since I don't care about the dialogue amongst the characters, all I'm doing is biding my time until the next contestant dies. And I think the film understands this, so it makes certain that each execution is exceedingly disturbing. That doesn't make for a very pleasant experience, being simultaneously bored and filled with dread awaiting the next non-boring death scene. That is what The Long Walk is, and though it tries to include positive outlooks in this hopeless situation, such as encouraging characters to choose love, or find light in the darkness, or expressing that killers can't see beauty, these shallow sentiments feel insincere and are at odds with the movie we're watching. I never for a moment feel like the film is trying to genuinely promote these ideas. It's just virtue signaling against the nasty bad guy establishment that's never investigated. We never fully understand why the long walk is happening. There are passing comments about the big war, the overwhelming poverty, the government overreach, but instead of slowly revealing the cause that has brought these characters to this moment, the script remains ambiguous. This will allow audience members to project their thoughts and political presuppositions into the story, which can work. I thought that kind of ambiguity worked well in last year's Civil War, but in this film it feels lazy, and once again makes the experience trite and uninteresting. The Long Walk has some very good moments. A scene where the contestants encounter a steep incline that causes mass chaos and anxiety, or a moment where a character sees his mother during the walk. I liked how the director, Francis Lawrence, ironically known for directing most of the Hunger Games films, uses low angles to accentuate the pace of the walking, shows how they observe their surroundings, and draws out excellent performances from each of the actors. Primarily its leads, Cooper Hoffman, son of the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, and David Johnson, who is on his way to becoming a Hollywood star. There's also an amazing performance from Judy Greer in a small role as Rey's mother. So the film isn't all that bad, especially if you can ignore the cartoonish performance from Luke Skywalker as the primary villain, the Major. And if you can get past the ending, which I would describe at best dissatisfying, and at worst corny and ridiculous. So I will give The Long Walk 3 out of 5 stars, which is slightly above average, but not something I would highly recommend. From a Christian perspective, The Long Walk preaches some positive attributes and even acts as a metaphor against laziness, but it feels much more interested in its gratuitous bad language and violence, which is designed to entertain, not be a cultural warning. So on my appropriate scale, I will compare The Long Walk to another Stephen King adaptation, It, a film that prefers shock value over any valuable lesson. What do you think of The Long Walk? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss any of my future reviews. Also, you can check out some of my previous videos by clicking on one of these boxes.